plead. For she is not my wife, and I am not her husband. So, God is talking to these children now. And now, what you have to do is you have to start remembering that when God's talking to the children, He's talking literally to the children of Homer and Hosea and Gomer. Did I get that right? Or I was thinking Simpsons. Hosea and Gomer, and He's also talking about Israel and Himself. So, the children are told to plead to their mother. Now, these children are, in a sense, bringing charges or accusations against the mother. Now, it's an idea of confrontation. It's an idea of accusation. It's not an idea of, excuse me, Mom, I need to talk to you about something. But instead, it's, look, this is the deal. This is what's going on. This is what you're doing. Two things I want to make note of real quick. No kid in here should be thinking, excuse me, I am going to go to my mother and father and bring charges against them. And then come back to this verse and go, you see what it says here, guys? Two reasons why you should not do that. One, what's the first reason? Jamie, what's going to happen? You're going to get slapped. That's the first thing. All right? Mother, I want to talk to you about something, and Scripture says I should bring pow. I'm just giving you guys my mood, kids. That is the exact situation that's going to happen. You guys I'm not even going to hear the charges before you get slapped. Yeah. And two, somebody read verse 4 real quick. Go.
Upon her children also I will have no mercy, because they are children of whores.
Yes. You are a product of those parents. So you're not that far off, is basically it. Parents are whores, kids are whores. Sorry. So those two reasons is why you shouldn't take this verse and go, well, I have the right to go to my parents and confront them and accuse them and do something like that. And second thing that I think is very important here that we need to notice is the second part of verse 2, when he says, for she is not my wife, and I am not her husband. Okay. Believe it or not, some people have used this verse as a basis for Old Testament divorce. That you could literally come up to someone and say, you're not my wife, I'm not your husband, done. Marriage is over. We've even actually, we've done this, and I talked about this last week. What's the difference between biblical marriage and American culture marriage? American culture marriage is what?
Contract.
Biblical marriage is?
Covenants.
A covenant. Can we break a covenant?
No.
Absolutely not. Did I make a covenant with Denise?
Yes.
No, I did not. I have a marriage contract with Denise. Who did I make a marriage covenant to? God. I said, God, I am taking this woman. She is going to be my wife. I'm grateful to you. I am promising you that I am going to stay married, remain faithful, be a good husband. And I'm basing it on you, not on her. Sorry. That's marriage. It's shocking to a lot of people. Everyone's like, what? Mari and Noel, we were just talking about this yesterday. What we hear all too often is I want someone to make me. Well, what happens when they no longer make you happy? You know when that's going to happen? For most people? Honeymoon. I can assure you on the honeymoon, at one point, you will look over and go, what in the world was I thinking about? Chances are, it is going to be like that moment where, you get married, you guys, marriage night, and it's that next morning, and you're kind of laid back in bed, and you're like, this is going to be wonderful. I can do this forever. And then he strolls out of the bathroom, nude, hairy, fat, ugly, and the first thing in your mind is what? That's good stuff. Right? That's what you're thinking, right?
Yeah.
No. You're thinking, I think I made the biggest mistake in my life. Or, let's just say you have a physique like this. So, you're not worried about that. And the honeymoon goes fantastic. The first year of marriage is wonderful. Everything is great. 5 years down the line, you're just like, you know what? I just don't like you. I don't like who you are. I don't like how you look. Your job is horrible. You don't support me well enough. Whatever it is going to happen. Do you know why? You know who you married? A sinner. You married a human being that is probably, I'll change that. You married a reflection of yourself. Believe it. Have you ever seen a couple and you go, I don't understand how she's with him. She's so much more mature than he is. You ever said that? Or, you know what? He acts like a goofball and she's so prim and proper. Goofballs hang out with who? Goofballs. She may appear to not be a goofball, she's a goofball. Okay? When you look at someone, you go, I don't understand how they're together. He's so immature and she's so mature. If she was so mature, why would she be with a little kid? It doesn't happen. You know what? She's just as immature as he is. She just hides it better. So he runs around and does goofy things, and she sits back and goes, oh, he's such a buffoon, right? You're with the buffoon, which makes you a buffoon. That's the fact of it. It's you marry a reflection of who you are spiritually, emotionally, and to a certain extent, physically. To be honest, it's not like, you don't look too often and you're like, wow, Billy Crystal really married? You guys don't know what I'm talking about. All right. But I meant to say Billy Joel, actually. But we look at a passage like this and we go, see, that's all it takes, is I can just make this declaration. Only problem is when we do stuff like that, we are not reading Scripture in the context of the passage, of the chapter, of the book, of the Testament, and of the entire canon. Because you will not find that theme anywhere else in Scripture. As a matter of fact, we're going to see what happens in about 8 verses. And how this idea, she is not my wife and I am not her husband, doesn't even ever get acted out. So, I know. Because we can't, we have to be able to go, which one is it going to be? Am I going to live marriage like this? Or am I going to do it the way God really instructed us to? Because I've always put this forward to anyone to go, has anyone ever been in a relationship where your spouse has been unfaithful to you? If you have a spouse, they have been unfaithful to you. They might not have actually physically done it, but they thought about it. And Jesus tells us what? You think about it, you did it. You think about killing someone, you might as well have just done it. Well, maybe not. He doesn't go that far. But he says it's just the same as you've done it. So somebody, do me a favor. We're in favor of this kind of idea of, hey, you know what? If my spouse is unfaithful, then yeah, I think we should have this principle should apply here. Turn to Leviticus 20:10. One person turned to 20:10 and somebody turned to Deuteronomy 22:22. First one there, just read the first one. Deuteronomy 22:22.
Leviticus 20:10.
Read Leviticus 20:10 some more.
If a man commits adultery with the wife of his neighbor, both the adulterer and the adulteress shall surely be put to death.
How'd they put people to death Old Testament style? Okay, somebody read Deuteronomy 22:22.
If a man is found sleeping with another man's wife, both the man who slept with her and the woman must die. You must purge the evil from him.
That's Old Testament justice. So, it's literally like you want to take part of it. You want to go, I want to be able to do this and just kind of go, marriage, no more, dismissed. But if that's the attitude that you're going to have, then follow it all the way through. Bring charges up against them. Have them put to death. If that's going to be your biblical basis for why you would want to get a marriage, you can say, my spouse was unfaithful. Let's line them up, we'll get a whole line going, we'll pick out some big rocks, and we'll just start pelting them. That's what happened. But then people say, oh, that's so cruel, that's ridiculous. I think God's really trying to make a statement that if you're going to take it this far, this is how far it's got to go. Or, you treat it like a covenant, you rest in me, you look for me to deal with the vengeance aspects or the justice aspects, and you do what you promised me, not what you promised this other person. Because your promise to another person is irrelevant. You're going to break it as soon as you make that promise. Because you're not Christ. You're not perfect. So God's literally like going, okay, look, you made the promise to stay married. You made that promise to me, not to them. So what they do is what? Completely irrelevant. That person made a promise to God, and that person needs to deal with God. You are not the one who's going to deal with it. You're not going to fix that person. You're not going to change that person. Only God can. But who can you change? Yourself. And generally, the problem is us. You ever meet someone who's been divorced 5-6 times? And then they say, just looking for that right person. Okay, I keep marrying jerks. It's a common denominator in that. You. Yeah, so you married 5 jerks, or a guy, you married 5 jerkettes, and you're still looking for the right one? You know who's the wrong one? You. Like all these other people just are like, oh, they've got problems and issues and, they need to work on it. But you're good. That's why everyone keeps divorcing you, right? All right. So, let's go back to this, because we need to talk about some interesting Hebrew terminology. So she is not my wife, I am not her husband. That she put away her whoring from her face and her adultery from between her breasts. What? What? What does that mean? What does it mean to put away whoring from her face? Any ideas? I mean, you guys, I'm assuming some of you guys read this, right? Because you guys were like, I need to read ahead so that I can be prepared, right? All of you guys did that? Yeah. What did you say? The whoring from your face. It's always fun to try to like contemporize some of this stuff because you don't hear that. Like you've never heard anyone say, you know what you need to do? Put away that whoring from your face. But when you yes?
Is it like lots of gross makeup?
It's the appearance of a whore. It's making yourself look like a whore. That's what he's saying. So the charges that the children, Israel, or Jezreel, no mercy and not my people, are to bring against Israel, greater Israel, or Gomer is what? Mom, please stop looking like a whore. Please stop it. Stop looking like a whore. Now, culturally, that's going to mean different things. You know what is one of those things that always just troubles me? It just drives me insane. You go out someplace, whether you're at a restaurant or maybe you're clubbing, yeah? I'm all about clubbing. You go out clubbing or whatever you do, and you see someone dressed, and you kind of do this, you're like, and they're like, don't look! Well, why would you dress like that? Why would you do it unless you're trying to get attention? Now girls, I know you guys struggle with this. I know, I have 4 girls. I know that so much of who you think you are is based on how you look and how other people respond to you. And do enough people notice me? That's your issue. That's no one else. You know what I've never ever heard in any marriage? I've never heard a guy say, my wife just isn't pretty. But I've heard women say, my husband doesn't think I'm pretty. And you have 2 issues there. Is one, that guy is not communicating how beautiful that wife is on a regular basis. And 2, your beauty is not determined by whether or not your husband thinks you're beautiful. It's not. There's one person who determines beauty, and that is God, and only God. And you have to remember that. When he's saying here is, don't do this. And I just want to make sure. It is a great thing to think that your wife and your daughters are beautiful. It is a wonderful thing. And guys, that is on you to encourage them, to tell them, to make sure they know that they are beautiful. But it is also on you to make sure that they know that God thinks they're beautiful. because that's all that really matters. And God is literally saying,